So, welcome to my kitchen. What I'm going to make here is some vegetarian chili. So, first of all, I got some, 2 tablespoons of olive oil heating up here. It's nice and hot. Put in a large red onion. Okay. Get that nice and coated up. Fry this up really nice. Okay. Pardon me. So, yeah, I'm trying to be healthy, but we use a little bit of seasoning salt because it gets the juices going and it tastes good. You know, maybe a teaspoonful, but I'm making enough of this to eat for about 6 days. Nice big pot. Get this all caramelized in here nice. So I've got it going here. I'm going to throw in some celery. That's a great big bunch of celery there. Can't tell you exactly how much. I guess we'll go with like 8 sticks. I just chopped it up. I'm not using real chef terms here. I don't claim to be a chef. I'm a cook and a pretty damn good one. This is Big Daddy Cooks, you know. Now I've got that in there, and we're just going to keep that going. I added the only salt that I'm going to add now at the very beginning when I put the red onion in. I do have some garlic powder. There's no salt added in this. I checked the label. Some of the stuff I'm adding has salt in it, and that's another reason why I don't add extra salt. And I am going to put some real chopped garlic in there, but I just like to have a little bit of that right at the beginning and get that going around real nice, okay? So, what it consists of, I've got the red onion, I've got the celery, and now I have about 10 bell peppers, okay? I like lots of peppers in my chili because I'm not putting any meat in here, and so it gives it a nice texture and lots of flavor. So I'm going to put about 10 bell peppers in there, okay? These aren't going to stay, you know, keep the pot that full, but I stirred in. Alright, and I'm just going to start adding ingredients here now. I guess I've got 796 milliliters of stewed Italian flavored. I like the Italian flavored ones because they got a little flavor. Okay. Tomatoes, and I drained the excess liquid off of that. Okay, I'll just stir all this in together. I'm going to reduce the heat. Right now I have it on 3/4. I'm put it down to simmer here because the simmer is going to be good enough to continue what I'm doing here. All right. Now I'm going to take a little bit of Worcestershire sauce because it's high in salt and gives good flavor, so this is like I was talking about the salt content, and you got to balance things out. You don't add salt in if you're cooking with a bunch of stuff that has salt, but unfortunately salt is kind of something that adds flavor and brings moisture out of your dish. So of vegetables, when you cook vegetables, it's nice to have salt because it just makes the flavors work. Okay, I'm also going to use a little bit of soya sauce. When I say a little bit, I probably used about 2 to 3 tablespoons of soya sauce, about 2 tablespoons, 1 to 2 tablespoons of the Worcestershire sauce, okay? And, you know, just keep mixing it around. It's going to get hot. So there's that. All right. Just let that cook down a little bit for a while. So we'll continue to let that cook down. So what I'm going to do, I guess, I like to put a little bit of lemon in at this point, just to get a little acidity in there. Okay. Obviously I didn't go to crush my own. Also didn't chop my own garlic. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So I usually take about 3 heaping tablespoons of garlic. Oh, we'll go 4. We all like garlic, right? So that's about half of one of these jars, okay? I guess what it would amount to is maybe a large clove chopped. All right, okay? And we'll get that all stirred in. Okay. There we go. And about this point, I'm going to take some corn. I like to put corn in here. I have baby corn to put in here, but I also like to put some whole kernel corn in. So I put about a cup of whole kernel corn in. Maybe that's a little bit more than a cup, I don't know, I just eyeball stuff. That's the kind of thing I do. Now this will give a little bit of liquid as it cooks in here. So will the vegetables as they cook down, but the vegetables are hot, so it'll melt the frozen corn. You know, this isn't gourmet school here or anything. So now then at this point I'm going to add, have roasted red peppers. I didn't roast these, I bought them like this. They come in a juice. I drained the juice off completely. These ones are already chopped, sliced, whatever, into pieces about this size. So I throw them in. You can roast your own, you can do whatever you feel, but I buy that, okay? And I stir that in. I've raised the temperature back up here now that there's a little bit of liquid starting to come off the vegetables, and I've got a nice amount of juice in there to cook in. It's smelling good, and it's mostly just from a little bit of garlic and the vegetables and onion and stuff that I have in here. So anyways, that was, oh, let me see here. I've got a jar to tell me how many, or I don't. Oh yes, I do. Roasted red peppers, 370 milliliters. The jar's about this size. Okay. I just use whatever. Okay, these were on the shelf, but I like the roasted red peppers. It adds a little something into here. Now I make this chili quite a bit, so I can tell you I have a nice love for food. If you like to eat and you like chili, this is a nice vegetarian way to go. You don't really feel like you're losing the meat. There's not much oil. I don't add a lot of extra salt. There's enough in the beans and stuff that I put in here. Everything that's canned always has a lot of salt in it. I try to watch the labels and buy stuff as low as salt as possible, but you got to live your life, and you can't get around it 100% unless you're going to grow everything in your own garden. And you know, this is a way, you know, you can cook, stay healthy. Say what you will about some of the ingredients that are going to go in here, but Big Daddy's lost 135 pounds in about a year and 3 months. I'm kind of on a stall right now, mostly the last couple of weeks, but it happens. Plateaus come and go. But anyways, I'm not talking about my diet here. I'm talking about a food that I've ate quite a bit of during the last year and 3 months that have got me to the minus 135 pounds. I don't work out a ton. I've got moving a little bit, but mostly it's due to my diet. So you can say what you want about some of the ingredients, but I think I might know a thing or two about what I'm talking about. I'm not going to argue that, but at the same time, there's always haters. I don't care. This got me there, and this is going to continue to get me there. So at this point, I've got all these ingredients in here. Right now I've got quite a bit of mushrooms, and I've got some baby corn. I'm going to put that in here now. And I'm just going to stir that in, and I'm going to put a lid on it, and we're just going to let that sit until the mushrooms cook down a little bit with the rest of the vegetables. And the mushrooms are going to soak up some of the stuff here, okay? Mushrooms are great because they're porous and they take on flavor. They also add great texture to your dish. And I don't really understand people that are afraid of mushrooms. I mean, because if you cook them with a sauce or something, they basically take on the flavor of the sauce, and they're not bad for you. So there we go. We'll stir these in like that. Get them in there nice. You don't have to stir the hell out of this. Okay, so we'll just get that like that. Let's throw a lid on it. We'll let it sit for about 5 minutes, and I'll be back. Okay, so it's only been a couple of minutes now since I put the lid on. I'm just going to raise the lid off of it and give it another stir. I want everything to cook nice at about the same time, so you have to get it all mixed down. I'm going to do this a couple of times, so while that's happening, let's just talk about some of the other ingredients that I have here. I've got two 5.5 fluid ounces or 156 milliliter little jars of tomato paste. I've got 200 milliliters of sliced ripe black olives. I know it's not really like a chili kind of thing, but I like black olives. I put them in there. They're also like mushrooms. They'll cook down. They're not going to taste like black olives 100%, so they're going to take on a lot of the flavors, and they also give a nice texture. Okay, the baby corns that I put in, that was 14 fluid ounces or 398 milliliters. Now I'm going to be adding a 6-bean blend, and that'll be 540 milliliters. 796 milliliters of dark red kidney beans, and 398 milliliters of pork and beans. They do have a bit of oil and stuff. When you open the can, I drain the oil off the top. Okay, so let's just get rid of some of the stuff out of them. I strain my beans, my 6-bean blend and my red kidney beans when I start with the strainer, so I get all the juices off of them, and I give them a quick rinse with water. And I basically got everything prepared today, and as you've seen, I've been just dumping out of bowls. I've done all my prep ahead of time, so we're just going straight into the pot, and I'm showing you how to put it all together. So like I said, there was a large red onion, so you can use 2 or 3 small yellow onions, a large white onion. You can use 4 onions if you want. The beauty of this is you can add, you can subtract, you can make it smaller amounts. I used about 10 fairly good size peppers, red, yellow, orange, and green peppers, okay? And so that gives me quite a bit of food, because I make this it's going to be for today's lunch. It's going to be for the next 4 days while I work, and it's going to be good. And look at that. See, now the mushrooms are starting to cook down. Some of them that were down below. These mushrooms, I just bought like a large tray of mixed organic mushrooms that were already sliced. Sometimes you can buy a bunch of mushrooms and slice them up yourself, but I find it's economical enough for mushrooms that I can slice my own. Okay, so keeping that going, I'm going to start to add a little bit of spices. I'm not going to add everything, but I found a cheaper alternative at the dollar store. I love the dollar store, by the way, of herbs, and these are basically Italian herbs. And what I do is this has 4 different types here. Okay, so it's got oregano and rosemary and mixed herbs and basil. Okay, so I just take it and turn it upside down and I shake it. And I'm going to put quite a bit of this, probably about a quarter of this container into here. Okay, because flavor is good. Okay, well, maybe a little bit more. So like I said, about a quarter of that container just went into there. All right, I'm going to stir that in. Oh, that smells good. Now these are just dry spices. Okay, in the summertime I grow spices, I grow herbs and stuff like that. So that's nice and all, but it's quick and easy this way. It's doable. Okay, I checked that label and there was no salt added in any of that. Okay, I'm also going to again put some more garlic powder in. There's no salt in this, remember? Just garlic powder. Okay, so I put quite a bit of that in. Now I've got some ground mustard here. Okay, the garlic powder, I guess I probably wind up putting about 3 tablespoons of that in. I'm going to put about a tablespoon of ground mustard in. And I'm going to stir it again. I do like to keep stirring it as it cooks. You see how before it was a lot fuller of a pot, right? Now it is coming down. There we go. Let's let it come down. Okay. Now, cayenne pepper. Now, this is heat, okay? Chili powder has heat in it, but this is your heat right here. This and cumin. So, cayenne pepper. I put about a teaspoon of cayenne pepper in. Now, I just eyeball. Okay, so that's about a teaspoon right there. I put about a teaspoon of cumin in. Well, of course that doesn't want to come out. Okay, here we go. And again, it doesn't want to come out. Okay, so here's your teaspoon of cumin. Take the lid off and do it old school. Okay, there you go. Now that smells nice. All right. Stir it again. Now that's cooking nice. It's nice, lots of colors. Now I'm starting to get a good scent. I'm sorry I don't have smell-o-vision for you folks. There we go. It's Big Daddy's vegetarian chili. Alright, I'm going to put in my tomato paste. My 2 cans of 5.5 fluid ounces or 156 milliliters, however you measure. I don't have everything done in both imperial and metric, I'm sorry. But it's pretty easy to check with the internet if you're not sure the measurements are different. Alright, there's one. And look at all the juice that's coming out of this stuff now. See, that's a lot out of the mushrooms, out of the peppers, even out of the onion. Everything's got juice in it. So, 90-some% or something they say about humans. I should know this. Okay, but everything is made up with water. Okay, so I'm going to stir this in. Here we go. Stir, stir. Get that going. All right. Look how good that is. See, now we're getting a little bit of color to it. Okay, so I've got my chili powder here. I use quite a bit of this. So see how full that is. This is probably not going to be near as full. Okay, so I would say I probably use 3 to 4 tablespoons of chili powder for this dish. Again, I don't use exact measurements. I'm just showing you what I do. And you got to decide, by trial and error. So with things that are spicy like chili powder, cumin, cayenne pepper, anything like that you put in, garlic. It's all to taste, okay? This doesn't have to taste like authentic chili. This has to taste like something you want to eat, all right? That's the whole thing about being on a diet, is you got to make it so it's interesting and it's something that you like, and it's going to be something that's easy to prepare enough that it's not going to break you for time every week. And that's why I make my work lunches about six lunches, because I'm going to have one today and one for the next 4 or 5 days too. Okay, I make them all in one shot, so I don't have to worry about it. Then I'm going to, at the end here, I'll put them all into something and put them into the freezer, except for what I'm going to eat here today. All right, now that's really smelling good. Okay, see, look at that. And it's just going to have enough liquid in it. Look, see? Nice red liquid from the tomatoes. Smells good. Looks good. And I'm a klutz. I want to make sure quality control. Every chef's got a taste. Now I'm just going to taste the liquid, because that's going to give you the general sense of that it's hot. So, yeah, no, that's good. Num num num. She is perfect. Nice heat. Okay, so over here now I've got my 398 milliliters of brown beans, baked beans, and I've got 796 milliliters of kidney beans and 540 milliliters of my 5-bean mix, plus 200 milliliters of black olives all together here in this container. And I put that right in. See, there's a little bit of juices from that. And that is all going to come in there. And it's going to go in. And this is how we get a great big ass pot of Big Daddy's vegetarian chili. I just clean up my workstation here so I don't stab myself with my knife. Okay? Stir that right in. Like so. Nice and colorful. Lots of nutrition. And I'm going to turn it down, right down to a low simmer now. I'm going to keep the lid off of it for a couple of minutes. But what's going to happen is I'll put the lid on it after the cooking slows down. And I'll stir it, every 5 or 10 minutes. So essentially, there is about 6 different kinds of beans in here. So I call it a 6-bean chili. And there's lots of peppers and lots of yummy goodness in here. I don't add any thickeners in. If it's a little runny, it's a little runny. But most of that gets cooked up, sopped up. Everything soaks up together. And just becomes one great big pot full of yumminess. So that's about it. Now that it's starting to slow down here a little bit, I'll give it a couple more stirs, and then I'm going to put the lid on, and I'm going to rest it on simmer and stir it every 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, and then we'll come back and we'll have a bowl. All right. Hey, so it's been in the pot now for about an hour since I started putting the heat to the onions at the very beginning. I'm going to have a bowl, But in all honesty, I usually cook my chili for about 4 hours minimum on low heat with the lid off. As you can see, there's getting to be a bit of liquid up top. There's going to be a lot more if I just leave it. It's going to keep cooking and it's going to bubble up, and the liquid just comes to the top, and the main ingredients, the vegetables and the beans and everything, sort of sink to the bottom. So this is why you got to stir it. I don't put thickeners in, so I let it cook down a little bit with the lid off. I simmer it on the very lowest setting on a small burner for about 4 hours, stirring it every 10 to 15 minutes. So patience is involved, but you can eat it like right now, like I'm going to. I'll give it a stir here. Right now when I eat it, the vegetables will probably be a little bit crisp, but and it'll probably be a little bit more runny than usual. But after you've cooked this down, simmered it for 4 hours, stirring it every 10 or 15 minutes, it'll be guaranteed the proper consistency. If you do a couple of things, like remember when you put your can of crushed stewed tomatoes in there, not crushed, sorry, sliced stewed tomatoes in there, whatever, you can put crushed, but drain the liquid mostly out of it. Like, don't squish it, just dump it in a strainer and set it in the strainer for 2 or 3 minutes. I don't shake it around or anything. I just let it settle until most of the liquid is out, not all of it. You make sure you drain and rinse all your beans, except for your can of brown beans. Just take the oil that's at the top of the can when you first open it and dump that off. Then you can dump the can straight in. All my ingredients I drained, okay, including like everything I drained. So, I don't have a lot of liquid, and I don't need something to thicken it up. Like I guess like old school, you might use a thickener like cornstarch, a little bit of cornstarch and some flour or something mixed with some cold water, and that'll give you a nice thickness. But I'm trying to keep this down in those sorts of things. So, but just cooking it down for about 4 hours on low will give it a nice consistency. The best thing with a pot of chili is to cook it like that for 4 hours, then set it in the fridge overnight and bring it out tomorrow and raise the temperature slowly to a nice heat, like when it's nice and hot to cook, but raise the temperature slowly. It's always better the second day, always. In fact, if it lasts you 2 or 3 days, just pulling it in and out of the fridge, it's perfect. But like I said earlier, I'm going to put this into 4 containers. I'm going to, other than what I eat now, it might go into 5, depending on exactly how much. But usually it's at least enough for 4 big lunches for work. And I freeze them. And then I just bring them to work, set them out on the counter, let them thaw out for a few hours, and then I heat them up in the microwave for about 9 minutes, and they're just perfect. So yeah, there it is. Some of the vegetables are still going to be a little bit crisp at this point because, like I said, we're only about an hour in, and you can see that when I leave it, the liquid starts to come to the top. But the liquid's brought on a nice color now. It's got an excellent scent to it. This is, in my taste, I would say a little bit higher and mild, medium mild chili. Pretty much anybody can eat it, maybe except for little kids. I mean, unless you got a wussy mouth. It's a good chili. If you like chili, this is it right here. All round good meal. The only thing that, you know, you could do to change this up is maybe put some ground beef or ground turkey in there or something like that. But I'm trying to keep that stuff down right now too, to 1 meal of meat a day. I'm getting enough protein and stuff in a day that I don't really need to have meat in every meal. And there's a lot of protein in this, actually. The beans and stuff are very good for you, high in fiber. This is a very healthy meal. Okay, so if you want to lose some weight or just eat healthy, this is a good alternative meal that is about 50% out of a can, 50% out of something that you got to prep with a knife and a cutting board, and a little bit of love. And this is what you got, and it's going to be delicious. So anyways, I'm going to scoop myself up a bowl right now. I'm going to eat it. I'm going to enjoy it. It's going to be fantastic. And then I'm going to have my work lunches all made for the week. So there we go. That's going to be excellent. Take her easy, guys. Thank you for viewing my video, and we'll be talking to you soon.